Okay, so what's up, everybody? This is the LifeLongGamers coming at you from 2014 PAX East. We've got myself, Brian. We've got Mike.
PAX East, baby.
We've got Joseph.
Bringing it home.
And that's all we have. There's just three of us. And today we're just going to come at you with a quick podcast.
And for Ross. And for Ross.
And for Ross. He's with us in spirit, good sir. Probably playing Titanfall right now. But so we're going to go through, we're going to talk a little bit about a few of the games that we played on the expo floor. And maybe just give you an overview of our experience this year. Some of the things we liked about the show in general. Some of the things we didn't like. And what we would change for next year, or the years upcoming. So starting with the games that we played, we actually played 5 of the games on the main show floor, which actually doesn't sound like a lot considering we were there for 2 whole days. But the lines get pretty crazy, and we played.
That was the chair.
That was the chair, sure it was. So we played. So.
I knew I should eat Chipotle.
Oh my gosh. Alright, so the first game we played was Dungeon Defenders 2. And actually all 3 of us played the first game. And we were really looking forward to the second one. And it was at PAX last year, but they decided to change the direction of the game. And it was more of like an MMO type game. And we were not interested at all. It didn't look good. It didn't look like it stayed true to the original. And we were kind of salty about it. And I would say probably like 6 months ago, there was a news story that came out on all the major gaming sites that said the developers decided to change their ways and they went back to the style of the original Dungeon Defenders. We were really pumped about it. So when we saw it was at PAX, that was actually the first game that we went to. And I thought it was pretty good. Unfortunately, we had to play on PC, and I'm keyboard illiterate when it comes to gaming. But in general, it maintains the feel of the first Dungeon Defenders. You place traps in a build phase, and then you have the combat phase. Where you take your main character and you run around and you try to not only repair and heal the towers that you built, but you also try to fight off the waves of enemies incoming.
Yeah, but you gotta love what they did for 2 as well too, right? Because they finally took an opportunity to say, okay, how now can we actually make this game better? And making the 3D designs and actually having opportunities to do headshots and guys were more interfaced for yourself to play with, I thought was a good deal there. And I also really like the fact that, again, too, like you had a little bit more where you're still working as a team to plan, but you had these alternatives where you actually had now these ice cannons and fire cannons and other alternatives working within the environment. I think that was a pretty cool change.
Yeah, I agree.
They definitely built off of the original game. They took what they had and they advanced it instead of taking it in a whole new direction, like you had mentioned that they originally did last year, where they wanted to take it to an RPG. What I like too is that they made it so that everybody has their own chest now, so you get your own loot. Did you know? I don't know if you guys picked up on that.
I did.
You each get a key. You each can open the chest yourself. You get your loot. There's no more like first person to the box gets all the points.
Oh, okay.
No. You can everybody gets a fair share. You get your shot at it. Yeah. It makes it really nice.
And I like that they added too, like, again, we were trying the different characters. The fact that, again, you had like some extra defenses this time around. Like, again, they're trying to enhance in the right way.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about games that do a good job of coming out with sequels, they make subtle changes that do a good job of enhancing what you already enjoyed. Mm-hmm. And I think overall we all agree at least they did a good job at that so far. So
yeah.
I think we're excited for that one so far.
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped for that one. They were actually unspecific about when it was coming out, but The guy said hopefully 2014.
Hopefully this year.
It's actually right now a PC exclusive, but they said they were in talks with Sony and Microsoft, and that's all they were able to say.
Yep.
So my guess is that means it'll be out on XBLA, and it'll probably be out on the PSN network right alongside the PC release. They just haven't announced it yet.
Holiday season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, so what was the next game we played?
Evolve, baby. Let's get into it.
Evolve. So personally, this was probably my game of the show. I think it was my favorite.
Talk about a sleeper, though. I don't think did we even know about Evolve before we got here.
Not really.
I don't
no.
think so.
I had read a little bit about it. I had seen like the monster, but I didn't see any gameplay.
No, I agree. That's definitely a sleeper hit, and I would agree. I think from what we played, again, initial impressions we'll get into, but yeah, that was my favorite of what we actually demoed.
Hands down.
Okay.
It was
Yeah, so we're all in agreement on that. So, looking good for Evolve. It's by the creators of Left 4 Dead,
Yep.
right? We played Left 4 Dead, and my general feeling on Left 4 Dead was it was fun for a while, but then it was frustrating because you always needed 4 people to work together to do anything in that game. Now, from that perspective, Evolve could fall into that same trap, right? Because you basically you still need 4 people to work together to take down the monster.
Yeah, it's a cool alternative though, right? Because if you think about their concept and what they said from their design teams is that they're taking a 4-on-1 boss battle, but making it all player interactive. So again, it's the opportunity now where they're almost creating, as they said, a space in the multiplayer regime that hasn't been there yet, where they're trying to go in this whole new way. So I love the idea. I wholeheartedly agree.
Yeah.
I think you're going to fall down directly. When we were playing, we knew what we were doing as a team, and it was quote unquote easy. Yep. It was a demo, and the guy didn't know what he was doing as playing as quote unquote the monster.
Right.
But it was easy for us to start. I think that's where it's going to have to find the fine line of how you balance it. Because I love the quote at the end where the hunters become the hunted. If that paradigm switches during the game, but you're like during the middle of what we played, I didn't think it was too difficult. So it's going to be interesting because I agree. Left 4 Dead is a lot of fun, but for when you played online with folks that knew what they were doing, it was very easy to get to your objective, or if you were the guys on the other side. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me. So just a quick summary of how it works. It's a 4v1. The one is an actual human person rather than an AI boss, which is what makes the game different.
Yep.
We kind of felt that it would fall into the similar type feeling of an FPS, like, hey, it's just more of the same. But I think what really separates it from the others is that each of the 4 hunters has a unique ability that the others do not have at all. So, for example, in some of the other games we've seen in the past, there would be like a medic class, but the other players could still heal others, just not as efficiently. Now, in this game, the medic is the only person that can heal at all. The other people cannot heal whatsoever.
Yeah. And Joe, you should bring up the Trapper stuff. What you were doing.
Trapper, definitely, yeah. They without the Trapper, you wouldn't be able to defeat the boss.
Yeah.
Like that class serves an entire role to like the teamwork dynamic of it. Without that person, like the boss would just essentially hit the 3rd stage. He would just wipe the floor with everybody. There'd be no.
So your main ability, what was the main ability of the Trapper?
The primary thing that the Trapper used was a harpoon gun. So that was just meant to just kind of hold the monster back, just slow him down a little bit, keep him in there. The other thing that you could do is you could throw down the dome around you. So it was like, I think it had like a 2-minute cooldown, maybe like 3-minute cooldown.
Okay.
But as long as you got the monster like just pinned down for like 10 seconds or less, it throws like a grenade. You just hold the right button down, pulls out the weapon, you just whip it like a grenade in front of the monster.
Yeah.
5 seconds later, all of a sudden, there's a big blue dome around everybody.
Yeah, that's why that's a huge deal, because that guy, again, he's gone, right? For the first couple minutes, again, like, just to give the quick introduction, like, the monster gets a 30-second head start to start working and feeding off the environment.
Yep.
If we took another 5 minutes just to catch the guy, even just catch him in the environment. So if you don't have a guy who's inept and knows what he's doing and being able to shield and cover a guy,
right?
I mean, you're going to be in big trouble quickly because you can't even catch up to this guy.
Right, and the goal of the monster is to basically stay away from the hunters until he quote unquote evolves.
Yep.
He starts as a beast like twice the size of a person, and his goal is to actually scavenge through the area to find animals or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Wildlife of some sort.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's supposed to take them out, eat them. He evolves into a 2nd and a 3rd form. And I guess the 3rd form is the most powerful. And at that point, like, the hunters are kind of screwed.
Yep.
So, without the abilities of the Trapper to slow him down. I know the medic had a tranquilizer, which would also slow him down. But without those abilities, he would get away from the hunters, he would evolve, and then the table would turn.
Yeah, it was cool.
Actually, the one thing I probably didn't mention as well, the trapper has the ability to see the footprints of the monster at any given time. So the entire time you're playing the game as the trapper, you can see where the monster's walked already. So you can follow his path at any given time. The other thing you can do too is you can set down sound spikes, I think they were.
That's right, yep.
So like you just randomly just throw down a spike in the ground. Should the monster come anywhere near that spike, you get a ding on your screen that says like, hey, the monster's over here. He's like 400 yards away.
That's
Okay.
cool.
Like, so you can immediately run back over and be like, all right, guys, change direction.
Yeah.
Like, the path isn't getting us there quick enough.
I think, could you see footprints? I could see footprints, but...
You were allowed to, they said, only for
Close.
a certain distance, yeah.
But you
they
could
would
see 'em all the
disappear.
time.
I could see him all
He
the
could
time.
always see him. So he was
Oh.
getting direct where we go.
See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Didn't matter how far he went, I could always see a blue set of trail.
Oh, that's interesting. So again, the game really centers around teamwork, and for me personally, that's what makes a game last. You know, Call of Duty, Halo, even Titanfall, those games are all a lot of fun, but the only reason they fall short for me, again, in my opinion, of other games like Gears of War or even something like a Dungeon Defenders is because it doesn't have that teamwork aspect, and that's a lot of fun when you're working together to complete an objective and, you know, defeat the monster. Of course we won because the guy who was a monster was terrible. He's doing, like, we should have just let him live longer so we could have actually played longer because we waited 2 hours to play the game.
Yeah.
But,
Next time around.
yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun. My game of show.
Yeah.
Your game of show.
Certainly.
Your game of show.
Yeah,
So,
it's fun. Well, maybe. We'll have to see what the next one. Our next offering is pretty tight.
next offer is pretty tight. All right, what was that?
Yeah, talk about going in a different direction, a little indie game. That was Video Ball.
Video Ball. Well,
The game that is surprisingly better than it looks.
Yep. You go from one end of the spectrum to the other, don't you? AAA down to mini, teeny indie.
Yeah.
But
and surprisingly better than it sounds. Video, but it's the most generic name of all time.
Yeah.
Video
It almost
Ball.
looks like Pong on steroids.
Yeah,
it's a perfect way to describe it because it's also like the most perfect party game that you can possibly imagine.
Yeah, it actually reminded me when I first saw it of like a virtual air hockey.
Yeah. It was air hockey meets Pong because Pong is exactly right. You're just trying to score an objective.
You're trying to get the big ball on the other side of the person's screen.
Yeah.
Essentially.
It was complete mayhem, and it's exactly what you expect it to kind of be, where you're just controlling like a little triangle, and you're simply trying to go 2v2. But I mean, it was like infectious, man. I mean, it was so much fun.
What it was is it was so simplistic that anybody could pick it up, but yet there was so much strategy that you really had to put in the game too.
Yes,
right.
Totally
like
agree.
if you hold the button, essentially you can press any button down, it charges your shot. If you hold too long, it now turns into a block.
Yep.
So you're this fine line. You're like, well, if I get to the third power shot, like it's going to go the farthest.
Yep.
But if you hold out too long, now I've got this big block I have nothing to do with.
Right.
But the blocks add dynamic though, because then
Defense. Yeah,
you're on a defense.
Yeah, I think if we're given like seals of approval, especially if things that like we don't know, and again, being for the folks that know us at Lifelong Gamers, for the folks that know we tend to play basically kind of big console games. I mean, I don't think about indie games a lot. I really don't. I kind of pick them up occasionally when we hear about them, right?
Right.
So to run into the indie team and the development team who was there and gave us a shot at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really impressed.
Yeah. I mean, I think the most interesting thing about Video Ball is I could see you. Now, to be honest, it can't be our game of the show because it wasn't at the show.
That's true.
It wasn't at the show.
It might have been.
It was at the show.
No, it wasn't. Was it at the show itself? Really?
He's got a booth there. Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been.
Well, we didn't play at the show.
That's right.
It's definitely in the indie section.
Yeah, it's above the show.
He gave me I think the booth number was like 890 something or other.
Okay, we might have missed it.
Like,
we walked through indie, but
He certainly became like my best friend when we teamed up for 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many people at the convention today that it was like almost frustrating to walk around.
Yeah.
So we might not have seen it at the indie, but so it was at the expo. So I guess we could count it.
Oh, yeah. And again, I know where you're going with it. I would say for what it is, being again a game that's not trying to outdo itself.
Yeah.
And for a game that again is just instinctively a lot of fun once you start getting into it.
Yeah.
I think it was a hit. I mean, I can see it really taking off.
Small learning curve.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't
Small learning curve, but
Small
to your point exactly.
Yeah,
Once you realize how much added strategy you can put in,
Right.
There's a lot.
Like, to play the game, it doesn't take much. Like, anybody can pick up a controller.
Yep.
Anybody could play the game right off the bat.
Yep.
It's how effectively you can play the game.
Yep.
As you get better at it, you start seeing all the strategy and like.
Yeah. And just one final closing point. How many video games do you see in a bar?
Yeah.
Where it works.
Yeah, where
right?
it works. I totally
Not
agree.
not like a quiz game or whatever they have. I don't have those stupid quiz games,
Yep.
but this was a legit game that they had projected onto a wall of this bar.
Yep.
And people were checking it out and having a beer, and it was like really casual atmosphere, and it seemed like it fit. You know what I mean? It wasn't like too much of a game for people to be turned off by its nerdiness. And it was enough.
Just the right level of competitiveness.
Exactly, to get people involved and wanting to play. So
I would agree.
Video ball, I personally wouldn't give it game a show just because it's more of a casual game.
Yep.
It's probably a party game more than
it's
anything.
a party game, but I can see it, tapping into the market of people who, quote unquote, don't game, who are not video gamers and things like that. So I thought it was pretty cool.
That was an epic Friday game, didn't we? Saturday didn't turn out as well.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you run us into that?
So Saturday, we got to the show at around 8:30. We waited in line for an hour and a half. Our goal was to get some free stuff, but unfortunately there were too many people in front of us, so we had to switch it up, and we decided to get in line to play Wolfenstein, The New Order. It's called The New Order, something about New Order. And, for me, one of the first PC games that I really liked as a kid was Wolf 3D.
Yep.
Which is, the
Huge.
first game that started the whole Wolfenstein, everything. I personally don't think they've ever matched what they did with Wolf 3D, which is a very simple, first-person shooter game. But Wolfenstein looked interesting. We talked to some other people that said it was pretty solid. It was a good shooter, but it was like a mindless. You're just kind of like
Cliffy B enjoyed it.
Yeah, Cliffy B. Yeah.
We said it was a throwback to the old school Wolfenstein.
I disagree.
Kind of game. Yeah,
I
it didn't feel like that at all.
Oh yeah. So let's talk about the good things, right? The sound design was pretty good. The explosions, the voice, some of the voiceovers, that was pretty good.
It's decent. Yeah.
Like there were mechs and giant things like in the back where you could hear them stomping and whatever. That was kind of interesting.
It was okay.
The graphics were really good.
Graphics were very good.
I believe it is a next/current gen. I don't know what to call it anymore. It's it's a now gen exclusive.
It's a mixed gen.
Yeah, I like the now mix. Yeah.
It's a
blended
One.
gen now.
Yeah. Xbox One, PS4, PC, I think.
Yep.
So graphically, it was awesome, but
that's where you stop, man.
Yeah.
After that, it's a bland demo. It was confusing. There's limited tutorial. You just kind of had to work your way through the first 10 minutes.
All three of us got stuck
in the same one spot, which was a silly little
within
spot.
the first 3 minutes of the demo.
Or when they don't give you the double bonus button that you had to hit to be able to do the one thing you needed to get out of the room, it's going to be a little difficult. But
literally, you had to press 3 buttons to go prone.
Yep.
And they didn't give you any prompt. There was I couldn't hear the guy outside the door.
No.
So basically, they put you in a small room with a door.
Yep.
And
With
you're
no way
supposed to know. You don't know what buttons to use to go prone. They were going to put it in, right?
No, he did say it is in the tutorial.
Oh, it is in the tutorial.
It is in the tutorial. Yeah,
But
we were actually playing just a live level.
Yeah.
So in the tutorial, you would have learned that you're supposed to crouch down and hold the button and pull the trigger to the side, and your dude awkwardly lays on his hip.
Yeah. I mean, needless to say, we were throwing grenades and shooting at lights on the wall and everything.
And all I mean about blanded is, again, by the third time that you ran up to the same section with the little turret gun out the window, and you see it's the same level design.
Yep.
And then you run to the same mech turret out of the top, where you basically do the same thing, shooting some Halo-esque throwback to that stupid little walking spider thing. And then you shoot some stuff in the way. I mean, you've run through a level design that's 40% the exact same. So while we said the AI was kind of obviously cheesy and easy because it was a demo, I mean, I think again the gameplay was solid. Shooting was very straightforward.
Yeah, but it didn't do anything new.
But there's no reason I would ever think about that game again.
And it was very linear too. If you think about the level design,
it was
a very you're in a hallway.
Yeah.
you're in a hallway. There's crates set up to do it, but like walk down the hallway, turn right, walk down the hallway.
You didn't even have an accent door to go in accidentally to go run into some storage room. It was like, here's the one possible option you had.
And even the rooms that did have the accent room, it was just like a very small.
Oh, it's like nothing.
Like,
yeah, I agree.
Right. Here's like 10 steps. Okay, here's the end of it. Now you've got to come back in the room anyways.
I agree.
And personally, I don't know about you guys. I actually didn't mention this to you, but you could pick up that like chain gun.
Yep.
But when you picked it up, you couldn't run.
Yep.
So I would always put it down because I was just trying to get through that thing as fast as I could.
Yep.
The chain gun was a lot of fun though. To just start like wailing through people. It was like it was fun, but again, like the AI in that game. Hopefully, it was because it was a developer mode and they just kind of made it that way.
Yeah.
The AI is just completely just not there.
Yeah.
The AI just kind of like stood there and watched you, like, hey, I've got a chain gun. I'm just gonna mow you guys down.
And you said they were even shooting each other, right?
Yes.
They were shooting
For
each
some
other.
reason, like the game has friendly fire turned on.
Yeah.
So the enemy can shoot themselves.
So we're giving it the friendly seal of quasi-ish.
I'm giving it the friendly seal of down
All right,
thumb. That's what I'm giving it.
It's definitely tilting downward. On
something if you see it in a bin 10 years from now for $5.99, you still pass on it. That's good enough.
Well, it's not Gears Judgment.
It's not judgment.
It's not
judgment level. That's totally fair.
Yeah.
All
Okay.
right,
So
let's go.
Wolfenstein is a no. On to the next one.
Yep. Another stinker.
Another stinker. Oh.
Oh.
It's really unfortunate because somebody recommended this game to us earlier in the weekend.
Yes, it is.
And they said, man, it feels like a real next-gen experience. It feels so next-gen.
Yep.
We were like, okay, cool. Little racing game called The Crew.
Yep.
From Ubisoft. And personally, I'm not a sim guy. Michael is a sim guy.
To start with exactly what you just said, though, the ability, and again, in this world that you are driving cars where you have the opportunity to go off terrain very easily and driving through gorgeous fields and beaches and things that you could not do on a 360.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree that they did a good job impressing what you can do on an Xbox.
That in what he pointed out to us as the reasons why it was next gen.
Yes.
The zoom out thing.
They were completely there.
Yes.
Like everything he toted
after
to us.
that line, I say I completely agree with what.
Like if you actually dove into the gameplay, it was not that great of a game.
Yeah.
Aesthetically and like conceptually, the game's there. Like, okay, this is next gen. This is great.
Right.
Play the game, and then you're just like, this is terrible. What are we doing here?
And I think we talked about it when we were having a chat last night about it. Is again they're going to make some pushes and some games are going to kind of come out where they're trying to do this. Like you always see this at the beginning of new consoles. You can think about it many times over, where they try to. That's their ticket. They think that selling a cool new graphical game because they've upgraded to new hardware is a win. And some people might really like that.
Yeah.
But what you guys have already highlighted in the fact that this thing is clunky to drive, it doesn't make a ton of sense in terms of like what you're trying to do. It was still simplistic in terms of what you were able to do with the car.
Yep.
It just wasn't something that you felt the need to jump in. Again, we talked about Need for Speed. Need for Speed had so many options and so many alternatives, and it just felt fun.
Right.
That it was a game that you just wanted to go after. This one, again, besides the fact that you could zoom yourself out to a map and go anywhere in the country that you wanted to plop yourself down in.
Right.
Great concept. Very cool, actually, to do something like that.
Yeah.
Same thing that we talked about in Titanfall. After the 10th time you called in a Titan, you're kind of used to it, right?
Right.
So
what was once like unique and new becomes the regular.
Yep.
And what you really have to focus on at that point is this fun or not? And I think kind of what they're going for with a lot of the next gen game releases is how can we make this next gen before asking the question, how can we make this fun? So to your point, for example, the demo took place in like Detroit, right? Or the Midwest. There were like two places you could go. And on this, in this menu system, you would be in Detroit and you'd press some button. I don't know what the guy was doing. And the whole thing would zoom out. It would show an entire map of the United States, and it would show events all over, like Las Vegas, Los Angeles, Washington, Maine, Florida, and you could jump from place to place, and it's supposed to be geographically accurate. Like, it's supposed to look like that location. So, from a next-gen perspective, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's definitely next-gen.
Agreed.
But when I get in my car and I turn it like right on a curve and the back fishtails, and it's like there's like no like it's not even a sharp turn. All of a sudden, the fun factor is completely zapped out of it, and I'm like disengaged.
We've talked about this for years, and Assassin's Creed is a perfect example of how people joke that, again, that's just a high-tech demo that they ended up releasing as a game.
That's not a joke. That's my opinion.
But for real, that example is exactly this game. It is a beyond gorgeous game that I would have loved to play another demo just to see how pretty it was and how many pixels you could drive through when you're driving through that like cornfield.
Yep.
But other than that,
yep.
Yeah, gaming-wise, it's a very mediocre car sim game.
Yep.
So take it for what it's worth, right?
I think so. I mean, I think it would be awesome if Need for Speed would do something like that.
Maybe
a lot of people hate EA, right? And
when Need for Speed hits next gen, that would be impressive.
Yeah. I agree.
Like if they can take the engine for Need for Speed and the game dynamics,
exactly,
and then just polish the heck out of it with all the graphics, like that game would be unreal.
You guys hear to hear first. There's the best car racing game you can make.
I know a lot of people are haters. They say, oh, they just churn it out every year. Well, guess what? Unfortunately, it has the best gameplay. So you got to give it that. Now, if they just upgrade it a little bit and they add those features and they add all those new things.
Need for Speed, boom.
That's like saying, though, like Madden. Like every year Madden comes out. Every year Madden's a huge hype. Every year Madden's the same game as it was last year.
Right.
They polish the graphics. Need for Speed, on the other hand, it's a racing game, but they take it in different directions after every year. It's not you're not playing this game just in a new season, or we shuffled around the characters. Need for Speed takes it like you got like Hot Pursuits and now there's cars. Like you've got Underground, so now it's like underground racing. Like they take different directions with the racing.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's a far cry to say that that's the same as like Call of Duty, who's literally just restamping a new shell every year.
And I think a lot of the criticism comes from people like outside of the racing genre, like the people that are racing fans but not like hardcore, and they see it as it's another racing game.
Just generalize.
But there are the differences, and that's a good point. I agree with that. So those were the 5 games we played. We played a couple other small indie games that were they're indie games and they were fine. Yeah.
What do you guys think? To summarize PAX, give me something that you enjoyed.
Summarize PAX. Something I enjoyed. I enjoyed the show floor this year. The show floor was much improved over last year, I felt. Even though the number of games that we played was minimal, I think the booths were really interesting. Evolve had an awesome booth. It had a big Goliath dude. Borderlands was there again. I don't want to talk about that. Borderlands was there again.
Their pre-sequel?
They're showing their 2-minute video.
Yeah, with the third Borderlands, it's actually Borderlands 1.5. It's very confusing. But I would say that I like the expo floor the most. And I also, I really enjoyed the fact that you get to meet people and see people there that you wouldn't, outside of the show. Not only just like regular everyday folks that are super nice and love gaming and talking about, techie, nerdy things, but you get to meet like some of the developers, especially developers of the smaller games. We saw Cliffy B walking around and we got a photo with him and he was super cool about it. And me and Mike went to a panel today about video game maestros, the people who compose music, and we got to meet them and get their autographs. So that's probably what I like most. That's what I like most about PAX this year.
Cool. Joey?
What could I like most? Ultimately, I just like to get a glimpse of what's going on, the gaming out there.
Of the scene.
Cool. And cosplay. I'm not going to lie. Hands down, I love going to PAX for the cosplay.
I don't see any reason not to admit that.
I may also tend to be a little biased with my cosplay photography.
You think the ladies bring it a little more than the gentlemen, huh?
I think the ladies can work their cosplay a little bit better than the men. Unless men have really flashy cosplay, I'm probably not going to get a picture of you.
The guy with the horse costume with the rainbow tail.
Hands down, if you could be a unicorn.
Amazing.
I totally agree.
Amazing. You got a picture of that, right?
I do have a picture
of that.
All right,
we'll throw that up on the website.
For all that clout you just gave the ladies, that might have been the best one I saw.
Yep.
Just out of the sheer ridiculousness that must have been walking around.
That guy had the whole horse setup, like, on wheels behind him.
Yeah.
With, like, the rainbow tail.
He had to use the elevator to go everywhere.
I hope so.
Yeah.
He probably absolutely did nothing today.
Yeah. What about you, Mike?
You know, I was going to say that my two favorites was the day one. It always is the 4, but I would say Evolve was a huge deal because I think that the way that they sold that was well done, and the way that they had, I like actually the difference that no one else seems to do yet is that they gave you a video of a demo and then the play. A lot of these groups seem to do one or the other. The fact that we got the break of the video to see some actual in-game content and then do the actual game was cool. I like that.
And it broke up the line a little bit.
It broke up the line. You felt better about it, and then I think again it'll give you a good mix going forward on that.
Oh wait. Before
Yeah, go ahead.
before you continue, let's talk about the video for a second.
Video is a little lame.
Let's-
Video has to go to one of the downfalls of this. Would be the fact that they sometimes outsource their overall organizers of their booths. Which is a little lame.
The info they provided was great because it
Terrific.
basically told you what each character should be doing.
Correct.
Because nobody's played the game before. So if you already knew who you were going to be when you went into this video. So if you were, I was a medic. The video came up and said, "Oh, as a medic, it's your job to do this," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's what I should do."
Makes
However, the person that was running the video was not hired. I mean, she was hired by the game developer, but she did not work for the game developer.
A little weak.
And she was reading everything off of the cards.
And as Joey pointed out very nicely, she was explaining about someone using an assault rifle when clearly he was using some kind of laser.
He was using the electric gun. He's got an electric assault rifle. I don't know what the heck.
Our timing was a little off. So
Yeah,
I think
they
that's
never
good.
actually showed his secondary gun.
No, they didn't. You're right.
They show in the video. They show his primary weapon the entire time, and she's going on to describe and then he pulls out a secondary assault rifle, which he never actually pulls out.
Yep.
And she just kind of, I don't know, and not even going to say flawlessly. She just kind of bypassed it. I'm just going to shove that one under the rug.
Oh yeah. And her level of enthusiasm was somewhere along the line of, you can work together to bring down the creature.
Yeah.
And that was about it. It was basically reading a book, and they should have had somebody do a voiceover instead.
I
just
would
played it and let us watch it.
I would like to see them just get an audio clip of Morgan Freeman reading the cue cards.
I would have enjoyed that much more. So to your point, that's a clever nuance of PAX, I think, that we catch every year, but it was a little bit more poignant this year.
Yeah.
That girl was being a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
But the other thing I was going to say is I was underwhelmed Friday with the panels, but today really sold me on them. Because the year before, I felt that the panels were a huge deal, and I thoroughly enjoyed them and got a lot out of them. But I think the afternoon ones, like you said, the composers was awesome. Mm-hmm. I think the fact that they brought 3 pretty big video game critics to come back in and review their old reviews was awesome.
Yep.
I can't believe to the level of detail that they went into, and for all of us who are doing this podcast and inspiring to be in their position someday, the fact that they can go back and look at it and then critically say, I agree, I don't agree about my old decision, or here's why, and here's the justification, and having that in your game plan, and knowing that you need to look at what your weaknesses are and say, you know what, I did screw up.
Yep.
Yoshi, what was it? Yoshi's World?
Yoshi's Story.
Yoshi's
Story gave Yoshi's Story a 5 out of 5.
5 out of 5. And
5 out of 5.
1998 mistake of the year.
Yeah, he hated his what? He said, "Oh, I hate my 18-year-old self." Yeah.
So I thought that was great, and then even the last one, which again they were doing a good review of where we stand with the next gen consoles and what released well and what didn't. Mm-hmm. The conversation was a little Xbox sided, but I think they did a good job. So that was my best of the best so far.
All right, cool.
So now to turn the tables, what would you say is the worst thing you saw?
Worst thing I saw. I don't know. I mean, there wasn't really too much that disappointed me.
Or even in general, something. What's the biggest thing your takeaway from it?
I was disappointed they shortened the show this year.
Yep.
The show used to go until 2 a.m.
Stole mine. Absolutely.
You agree with that?
Yep.
Was that yours too?
Yeah, that's...
Okay, so it used to go until 2 a.m. And for anybody that hasn't gone, you would think, wow, you guys got there at 9 and you didn't have enough time between 9 a.m. and 2 a.m. to do everything?
Yeah.
Actually, we didn't.
Yeah.
Because there's so much to do there. There are so many lines. There's a lot of waiting. A lot of people that you'll read on Reddit, you'll read on the forums, that people are like really frustrated with how long some of the lines are and how long they have to wait to play games. I don't know what they're expecting. These demos, you want the demos to be more than 5 minutes long. And they can only fit so many PlayStation, play whatever you call it, not PlayStations, just stations
demos,
in each booth.
Yep.
That the lines are going to be long, and that's okay. But when they cut down the time of the show, that really takes away from everything else that there is outside of the expo that you'd like to do.
Yeah, and I think we're all trying to say the same thing. It's not that we hate the schedule; it's the fact that they've got so much to offer. Whether it's the variety of the console plays, the console tournaments, you got the tabletop stuff, which we have yet to see in 2 days.
Yep.
With all the other things we've done, plus all the other free amble things that you can do. It's just there's so many options that you want and afford, but the fact that you have to get and plan so early to plan for some of these things to get into is just that's the fault, right?
Yep.
You have to, unless you're absolutely perfect at timing it, you're stuck and you're going to end up missing some things. So to your point, that's why we always feel frustrated every year. There's always going to be some big things that you miss.
Yep.
And I think all three of us feel awful for the people who get like 1 day passes on a Saturday and wait five hours to play Evolve.
And that's like all they get to do. That's all they get to do. Yeah.
So I would agree. I think the timing's terrible, especially with the end of the night when to your point exactly what you said earlier. 6 p.m. is the cutoff of the expo hall. Mm-hmm. So then your final window is to go check out all the the ancillary stuff as well.
Yeah.
That hand sanitizer.
Oh,
dang it, people!
We crushed
hand sanitizer.
We crushed it this year.
The secret win.
Yeah. The last 3 years we've come. Or wait, this is the 3rd year.
Yeah,
this is the 3rd year.
So I've come a total of 4 years. These guys have come 3 years. Every year I've gone to PAX, except for this year, I've gotten sick. And this year, anytime we touched a controller or a door handle or the escalator, we hand sanitized. We wouldn't eat anything before we hand sanitized. We wouldn't touch our face. And it was amazing. So there's a tip. There's a tip for anybody going to a convention.
Future tip.
Hand sanitize yourself from head to toe.
Tip of the night.
And just to throw random internet references out there, or even I don't know if you guys probably don't watch Archer, like PAX Pox.
Yeah.
Like that's how you get it. Do you want PAX Pox? Because that's how you get PAX Pox.
That's right.
I don't want that.
Hashtag don't want.
It doesn't sound good. So any closing thoughts? I mean, I think we covered it mostly.
Hashtag I'm not down with the sickness.
Not down with the sickness. No, I think we're good. I think that's good coverage.
All right, awesome. So this has been the Lifelong Gamers with the PAX East 2014 kind of recap. And we'd like to thank you guys for listening. And hopefully you continue to check us out on www.lifelong-gamers.com. And we'll see you later.
Peace, y'all.
Bye now.